Hey everybody, Bush, also BK Force. Welcome to the weekly technicals for the Swiss franc complex for September 11th to September 15th of 2007. Well, looking at the chart of the Swissy, you can see the weakness in the dollar, very much like you see it against the yen here, though it's not quite as pronounced, and it is coming up against this very, very core 94 support. This 94 support has really been here for most of the year. As a matter of fact, it's almost a 2-year low that Swissy is trying to penetrate here. And although it is ending on the lows of the week, and definitely looks to be like a potential continuation trade, Swissy is just one of those currencies that actually sends tremendous amount of false continuation signals. You can see it over here, where here's a signal that is a false continuation signal, amidst, by the way, a very long continuing downtrend, similarly like it is over here. Here's a couple of signals where there's a false continuation signal to the upside, similarly like this. Swissy tends to be, of course, a much sharper reversal currency than just about anything else because of its special nature as a risk aversion trade. So we could be setting up for fresh lows in the Swissy if indeed we are going to be facing some very serious risk over the weekend. The North Koreans decided to do another ICBM missile. The hurricane wreaks just ungodly havoc on Florida. All those things could certainly push us through the 94s and take us possibly all the way down to the 92s. But on a relief rally, there's a very strong potential here that we could do just this kind of a reverse move here, and this 94 could very much hold. In addition to which, there's a lot of incentive here for the Swiss to weaken with the S&B. If the S&B comes out and seeing the fact that now the Swissy is once again near multi-year highs against the dollar, it certainly wants to get it up. It really needs to and wants to get the Swissy up above parity to the dollar. So seeing it below parity at around 94 cents is something I think the Swiss monetary policymakers are going to do everything in their power to diminish. They are, in many ways, hostage to what's really going on in the U.S. monetary policy, because it's only if the Fed begins to raise rates that the Swissy can begin to weaken significantly. But I wouldn't rule it out past them to perhaps do jawboning, perhaps even some intervention. Whatever it is the case, they may resort to more desperate measures, which really puts the risk on here towards the upside for the Swiss, assuming that we don't have any further risk aversion as the weekend comes in. Basically, if you have this nice combination of relief rally and tailwind from the S&B, then you certainly have a chance to come right back up towards 9,600. Looking across the other pairs on the Swiss complex, of course, Euro-Swiss looking like it's topping out a little bit, and this is really a function of Euro more than anything else. Although I will say this, Euro-Swiss, ever since we broke out through this very, very key resistance, the 110 level, has been holding quite well at around 1,300. And this 1,300, 1,250 was the absolute sort of spike low on the corrective mode. And as long as we hold around those levels, that's relatively supportive of this pair. I still think this pair probably is still a buy unless you break the 1,250 to the downside, and is simply consolidating a nice big breakout that we've had that could potentially then take us right back, in their perfect mind, right back to 120, which would be the perfect floor for the Swiss. Pound Swiss I already went through in the other video, and I told you, and I like this as a currency pair. It closed the trade a little bit weaker than I wanted it to be. I'd love to see it a little bit higher, but still, nevertheless, I think the trade here is quite good. Pound just simply closed out below the 32s, so giving it a little bit of weakness. It still looks to me like a pretty decent trade here, especially if we get any kind of a relief rally. I like this trade to the upside as much as possible. Swiss yen is always always kind of a neutral pair that's very hard to trade, and frankly, I don't have any great insight into the pair here. It does look like it's kind of bottomed out a little bit here. I would consider possibly doing a long here with a 112 stop, but it's a non-committal kind of a pair, not really of much of interest to me. Kiwi Swiss looks negative as the essentially Kiwi dollar. It's essentially mirroring all that move, the risk aversion move. However, the stop here, if there's a reversal here, I'd love to watch this for the next couple of days, and if we could hold, basically you could take a gamble here, just take a serious punt on the Kiwi Swiss with a 68 stop, and just assume that it's going to hold the stop, and if it does, you make a higher bottom, and that would be a very bullish formation with a move back up to 70 with a relatively limited amount of risk. But it's not something that it's essentially at this point a gamble, not a clear indication that we're seeing some strength. Aussie Swiss looks a little bit better, more congested, more positive. Still looks to be an overall uptrend here on the weeklies as the 7,600 more or less holds. Basically here, 7,500 is the stop for that particular trade to the upside. Although it's just simply congesting, so it could begin to fall down. This really all comes down to trades on risk aversion and how we are going to be perceiving risk as the week develops next week off of whatever news would come up. Here's CAD Swiss. CAD Swiss traded much better than all the other pairs into last week, but still looked a little bit like it's flame out. This is really a testament to the weakness of the CAD than anything else on the Swissy side here, but definitely looks like we hit the top here at around 77, 78 level, and looks a little bit choppy. Overall, still pound Swiss to the upside, assuming we have just mildly positive relief news on Sunday night. One of my favorite trades on the Swiss side. And if you want to just take a gamble on a reversal, Kiwi Swiss right here with a limited amount of risk could be a potential trade as we go into the week.